Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Platform 1, coming to you live from the Hattons hub. You're joined by me, Dave, and for the first time this week, John, who's sitting in for Jack, who's getting a well-earned break.
Hello and good afternoon. Yes, you may notice a couple of subtle changes this afternoon, but don't worry, you'll be in good hands. We have a packed programme for you this afternoon with lots of lovely, delectable goodies which Dave and I will be giving you as much information about as we possibly can.
Absolutely, and John's been one of our resident experts here at Hattons for coming up to 6 years now, I believe.
Yes, 6 years it is.
And you've been a modeller for how long?
Well, shall we just say 50 plus?
So a real wealth of experience there. So as usual, guys, keep the questions coming on everything we've got to cover today. We'll be here for about an hour. We've got a lot of the latest new releases and project updates to cover, as well as a couple of little surprises too. So if you've any questions at all, put them in the chat and we'll answer them, and our elves in the background will make sure to get to us. And of course, as well, everything you see here will have a link in the description, so check that out if you want to find out more. So, let's get started, I think.
Well, I think I'm right in saying that one of the first things we're going to be looking at this afternoon is the Hattons Class 86, is that right?
Yes, this is the forthcoming 00 gauge model, which was announced a couple of months ago, and we've actually now seen the livery samples of this as well. We've seen an initially painted sample, as well as the final colour layouts for these, and these come in a variety of 1960s and 70s colour schemes.
Ah yes, I believe we're going to be having a look at some details of that in more close-up now.
Yes, as you can see on the screen here now, there's a lot of those different liveries there, but also the revised first EP Model 2, which has had a lot of amendments, mainly to the pantograph on it, just to make it far more authentic for these heritage electric locomotives.
Am I right in saying then that this loco is, shall we say, more suited to the 86s in the later part of their careers?
This is more towards the start. This is the 1960s and 1970s when they were first built.
Right.
So a lot of the colour schemes available to pre-order there are in the BR Blue liveries, but quite a bit of variation in the yellow at the front and the colour of the blue itself on the side. There. So quite a bit of variation if you're a 1960s and 1970s modeller, but this promises to have a wealth of details, as we know with Hattons diesels, to be quite honest with you, and electrics too. So a lot of detail you see there on the model on the screen, various pantograph refinements, full detail, as you'd expect with Hattons, and the chassis weighs a ton as well, so you're going to get a great haulage capacity out of it, and full digital capacity as well.
Yeah, sounds really good. I mean, as you say, Hattons diesels and electrics do have a superb reputation, not only when it comes to quality, but in terms of pulling power as well.
That's exactly it. They really are known for that high level of detail, but they can walk the walk and talk the talk as well, really. So we're really looking forward to this coming through. As you saw on the images there as well, they have hand-painted an example of this in the BR livery, with the tops numbering for the 1970s modelers too, just to give a little bit more of an indication of how it'll look when the decorated samples come through. So this is a great locomotive for a lot of modelers as well, with that transition era between steam, diesel and electric on the West Coast main line in that 1960s era.
So you could actually run one of the really early variants with Maroon Mark 1s, couldn't you?
You certainly could do. You could combine them even with the last days of steam as well. So a real transition period, 1960s there, to get a bit of everything on your 00 gauge layout, really.
Yeah, that's true, because the electrification of the West Coast main line was Crewe and then Manchester-Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yes.
So there'd be lots of opportunities for people, if they wanted to do a sort of a geographical changeover type layout as well.
That's exactly it, and as we've featured on previous streams, it's a real time for electric models in 00 scale at the moment.
Yes.
We've had the Hornby 87 previously in Virgin livery. We've had other models in the scale as well, so there's really a lot to look at. You can get the catenary available, the coach in stock right through from the 1960s, the Maroon Mark 1s, as you said, up until the current day rolling stock as well, your Mark 3s, Mark 4s coming through. So it's a great time to be an electric modeller with some really good models coming through.
I think their choice of the Class 86 was a very wise one, because of course they're still around now.
They are, yes. In fact, they even pass our hub, don't they, on
I was
certain
about
traffic?
to say that, yes. I mean, only the other day I'd happened to see a couple of the 86s in Freightliner livery, and they're still working hard and earning their keep.
That's exactly it, and it's great to see, as we can see on the screen here now, the early part of their lives covered for, but they do go right through until the current day. So for those who are a fan of the class or want to really recount the history there, this looks like the model for them.
And it's coming out in, we're expecting July next year, is that right?
We are indeed, and they're all available to pre-order now, so check out that link in the description. We've got the full colour layouts on there if you want to see them in a bit more close-up detail, plus the images of that EP for you to review as well. Right, let's take a look at who we've got and what they're thinking. So we've had a couple of people with their hellos, we've had some of our regulars and some new faces as well, so thanks for joining us.
Hello to you.
We have had Ethan Armshuts from the USA. We've had Richard Swiderski as well. We've had Clive Cobbold say, here we go again. We certainly do. It's another busy week on Platform 1. We've had the 700 Shunter saying, good day from Australia. We've had Southway 1943 saying, hello and good afternoon from a wet Birmingham. So not quite the best weather down in the Midlands at the moment.
Is there any other kind?
That's it, unfortunately. We've had Gronkston Model Railway saying, afternoon everybody. Diesel and Freight Spotter in Kent. We've had Laura Walker, Bluegrass Rail Fan, who is trackside at the moment alongside CSX at Lebanian Junction as well, right in the middle of the USA there.
Goodness me.
He's coming live himself from the rail side there. Onno Mulder joining us from Holland, and a special hello to John as well. So there you are already. You're already making yourself in the seat. And Matt Slade as well. Thanks for coming, guys, and hello to you all.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Okay, so moving on to the next subject, we get a little bit larger in scale now, I think.
Yes.
And this is something, again, sticking with that diesel and electric theme, but a really hotly anticipated model. And we've had news from Dapol that the forthcoming next release of the Class 08 Shunters is due in next week.
That will be really well worth seeing. Now, I understand that they've modified the tooling slightly, and I think, as we can probably see in some details here, is it the doors that are now different on this one?
Yes, this is the revised doors. They changed the design after they'd built only about 300 or so of the locomotives, so they really got to the point of building up to almost 1,000 of these, but they did change the design quite early on to have the revised doors that you see there, but also a couple of minor amendments in how they made the cabside doors as well. A lot of them had air whistles on them as well as horns as well. So these are the later modified locomotives. And the liveries that are coming in reflect that too. They start off in the BR Blue of the 1960s and 1970s, and go right up to the EWS liveries, Freightliner 2 in there for the 2000s. And as we were saying about the 86s, this is really a classic locomotive that can still be quite commonly seen on the network.
Yes, we've got two right outside our office window, haven't we?
We have indeed. We seem to have everything that's outside at the moment, really. The 86s and the 08s, it's all things we can see ourselves. But indeed, we do have two Class 08 shunting outside at the Alston Widnes facility across the way. But also as well, they are still really commonly seen across the UK. The design started in the 1950s, and there's no real signs of them stopping, really.
Oh, well, they're still going. Superbly engineered piece of equipment, weren't they?
That's it. And I mean, let's be honest, Dapol's model really replicates the superbly engineered piece of equipment in O scale.
Yes.
A really nice model. These have got a high level of detail on them, full digital capacity as well. There's a slight change on this one with the amount of lights on the front of it. They do have the revised 1980s light style on there as well. Right. Just as you can see on the pictures.
Yes.
They've got the bottom ones, but without the top light on them, which does replicate that 1980s era onwards. So that covers the whole lot there, but these have been quite hotly anticipated.
Oh yes, I mean the previous batches that we've had have sold really well. What I particularly like about them, many O-gauge models, but this particular one I find, it's got a great deal of presence to it. Being O-gauge, yes, all right, I know it's a bit of an obvious thing to say, but they are chunky. They have a really good feel to them, and even if you haven't got very much room to create an O-gauge layout, something like the 08 would be an ideal starter locomotive if you're going to be dipping your toe into O-gauge.
You have taken the words straight out of my mouth there, John. You've taken my lines already. You've only been here a few moments, but so, well, that's it. But John is absolutely right. It's a really great locomotive to start off with, coming on just about that size in length, but it really does have the presence there. It's got a huge amount of weight and a really powerful motor with a flywheel on it as well. Yep. So it just combines everything you normally expect with O-gauge, which is a really large locomotive with presence, but in that scale that is manageable for a small layout, a shunting layout, something along those lines.
Yes.
And as you touched on before as well, the first releases of these were in the earlier liveries, so you had the BR Blacks, the BR Greens, a couple of the early BR Blues. So really perfect for the 1950s, 1960s modelers. But now it's the turn of the guys from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, all the way through there. This is the more modern iteration of these shunters.
I've had my turn, it's his turn.
There's some really bright colour schemes here, as you usually get with privatisation. You've got the red and the yellow on EWS, the bright green and yellow on Freightliner, the triple grey rail freight as well, so really bringing some colour to these classic designs.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, we're really looking forward to seeing them.
And we'll have them next week. And of course, if you can't wait until then, check out the link in the description. We have really high detail photos of all the samples so far, and you can pre-order them right now.
And don't forget that for under £200, you'll be getting a superb quality O-gauge locomotive.
That's exactly it, at a 191.25, I believe
that's
each.
right, yeah. Yep.
So, as said, really great price for a really great loco. And as I'm sure you can imagine, we've already had a lot of people getting really excited by these. Well, it's hard not to, isn't it, really?
It's perfectly understandable.
So, Ben Davis says they look amazing. I think he's absolutely right.
Yes.
Ono Mulder says, awesome 08 shunters. Southway 1943 says the O-gauge 08s make me want to jump up to O-gauge. Now, I don't think he'd be the first or the last there.
I think a lot of people have been saying that, haven't they?
They have indeed. The Evening Star says, awesome. The 700 shunter says the EWS Class 08 looks really nice. That's the bright yellow colour scheme we saw earlier, so really vibrant there. Jeremy says, love the Intercity Blue 08 shunter as well. Forgot to mention the Intercity livery that we saw previously. That's another really vibrant colour scheme. Some people do call it the Raspberry Ripple colour scheme, actually, but with the black and the white and the red, so quite an iconic one. Southway 1943 completely agrees with you on 08s being a great intro to O-gauge, and of course, great minds think alike there. I believe it really is a great way to get started.
Yeah, I think O-gauge is definitely on the up and up, as we'll see during our programme this afternoon. This is by no means the only O-gauge item that we're featuring today.
That's exactly it. And speaking of those, I think one of our eagle-eyed viewers has already spotted the hint of the Class 50s already, as I can see, and that's Matt Slade, who said those O-gauge 50s look very nice, and he's beating us to the punch there, but they certainly do. These are the production samples of our forthcoming exclusive Helgen Class 50s. So there's normal liveries coming through as well, but these two you see on the screen at the moment are purely exclusive to Hattons, and these are in the 1990s Rail Tour livery. So you've got Valiant in BR Dutch and Thunderer in Lara Blue.
The Lara Blue one in particular is fascinating because, as I believe you were mentioning earlier, Dave, the Plymouth Lara Depot repainted this one into Rail Blue, even though in fact it was only really ever intended for permanent way and engineering duties.
It was indeed. This is really towards the end of the Class 50's operational career with British Rail in the late 80s and early 90s. They did have a lot of fans in the depots and a huge cult following in that era as well. And the locomotives were repainted to give them a little bit of special identities. With the Lara Blue locomotives, there was actually only 3 painted in that colour scheme of the class, and Valiant itself in the Dutch was a complete one-off. So a real bit of pride given to them just in the last couple of days.
Yes, yeah, and as you say, the fact that these are both Rail Tour locomotives means that it's been a very shrewd livery choice, because you can use these locomotives in all sorts of circumstances, and it could also be argued that nobody could say, well, that never ran there.
That's exactly it. There's some great opportunities to put these on layouts far and wide if you're an O-gauge modeller. They did stretch the legs, and both still survive in preservation as well, so you can take them even further if you need to.
Yes.
And as we've just covered with the Dapol Class 08, if they had presence, this adds it even further.
These are marvellous, aren't they?
It's really heavy locomotive. You've got a full die-cast chassis in there as well to give a pretty immense haulage capacity, really. We ran out of track when we tried to give them tried to give them something to haul, and as is standard with Helgen O-gauge diesel locomotives, you've got twin flywheel powered motors in there as well. Full digital capacity and space for an absolutely ginormous sound speaker if you want to go on digital sound. And the level of detail really matches that as well. You've got a lot of separately fitted details along the front.
Yes, I was just noticing here you've got the ETH and the jumper cables and the handrails. It's all been done superbly well, hasn't it, Dave?
It really has. They've really defined those details on the front there, even down to the buffer beam piping already being pre-fitted as well.
Yes.
The fully working screw link coupling. Even inside the cab, you've got a full desk there with the throttle and the ammeter controls, etc. It's almost like you could open the doors and climb in.
So they haven't quite done what Hornby did on their 00 Class 50 then?
Not really. I mean, it's a bit larger to start
No, I'm talking
off
about
with.
the opening doors.
Ah, yes, good point. No, the only thing these don't have is opening doors, but they do have the working fan in there as well, and a huge wealth of detail. So really worth a look at. And again, as you said, it's not just these two coming in. We do also have available to pre-order Helgen's own range of liveries, which includes large logo blue, both liveries of Network Southeast, the original and revised, and a couple of the other one-offs as well. There's Defiance in Rail Freight Grey, but also Edward Elgar in GWR Green, which harks back to an earlier era.
And I think that'll be quite a good seller, that one.
Yes, that was painted for the 1985 GWR 150 anniversary.
Yes.
So a real contrast there between a modern 1960s locomotive design and a livery that goes back almost 2 centuries now.
Yes, that's true.
So some really good combinations there. And of course, as well, as mentioned previously, the 50s have got a huge cult following, both in the present day, but also on preservation lines as well.
Yes.
They were known for operating on the West Coast Main Line, in the western region of the UK as well, down to Penzance from Paddington, a little bit onto the southern region, going towards Exeter and down what they called the Mule, which went down through Axminster and such places too. So they really did gain that cult following, and of course quite a few of them can still be seen today. And Helgen are producing that modern livery as well in the GB Rail Freight livery, but that is a strictly limited edition. So if that one or the exclusives tempt you, we really would recommend getting that pre-order in. If you click the link in the description right now, you can pop to the website, see the full definition detail pictures there as well.
And the pricing on these, Dave, is going to be?
They are going to be £594 each, and they are due towards December.
Good.
So, as I'm sure you can imagine, we've already had a lot of interest in these as well. Matt Slade really likes the look of these. Sheena Wells loves the Class A4 as well as the 50. Southway 1943 says, loving the look of 5015 Valiant, and I'm a Plymouth Lara depot lad, saw them when they were being scrapped in the yard.
Oh
so
dear, now,
he'll recognise,
that is a shame, but I understand what he means, yes.
he'll recognise the Lara Blue in that case, but it is great to know that both of these locomotives in real life are still with us. So I think there's actually about 18 or so of the Class 50s still with us. So there's a lot still to look at. Obviously it's maybe a sad memory to see some of them going, but at the same time, all across the UK, you can find survivors out there to maybe revive those memories.
Dave, do you think anybody will have enough room in O-gauge to model the Class 50s as they were used on the West Coast Main Line, belting up Shap in pairs?
It's maybe a good point. I mean, you'd look at quite a lot of coaches there, and if anyone does have intentions to make that in O-gauge, please do let us know, as we'd absolutely love to see it. I mean, to be honest, we'd love to see what you're doing with the 50s anyway when you do get them. So keep us posted and let us know what you get up to.
Yeah, it's always a good thing to see what other people have been doing, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Now, as we mentioned previously, people are spotting the next thing on our list, which is, of course, another sample of our forthcoming exclusive Class A4s. This particular example is number 60,009, Union of South Africa, and this is in BR Green. But also on the screen there, you can see Silver Link in the LNER Silver. Now, this was actually only a livery applied to the A4s, wasn't it?
This particular silver livery was only actually, I think I'm right in saying, applied to the first 4 A4s, which all had a link with the word silver in their names.
Yes.
If I remember rightly, I think it was Silver Link, Quicksilver, Silver Fox, and somebody will no doubt come in and tell us what the fourth one was.
I believe it's Silver King.
That's it, I believe you're right. I should remember that, having had the Hornby 001 myself.
Well, there you are.
Yes. And I think the first one herself, Silver Link, she actually ran the London to Newcastle service quite literally single-handedly for the first few weeks until the other ones came on stream.
Right, that's news to me.
A very good reliability record for these locos.
And of course as well, it's a livery you don't really see on a UK locomotive. You see some greys, occasionally a white, but a full-on silver is something that you just don't see. It's really a livery that brings out the shape of these locomotives as well, and it just harks to that 1930s image for me, when the prestige of the streamlined services really was in place. They had their own coaches to haul at the time as well, although they did run with the Gresley Teats, which we are bringing out as well. And this really says the golden age of railways to me, that silver livery.
The silver one dates from, I think it was 35 up to about 38, because from then onwards it was decided that the standard livery for the A4s was going to be garter blue.
Yes.
And as Dave says, if you think about the iconic 1930s era, I know it's going back a few years, but if you remember the detective series Poirot and the opening credits,
yes,
that I think is a superb example of what Dave was referring to with the streamline era and Art Deco. To me, the A4s are one of my favourite locomotives.
Everyone's got a favourite.
Yeah.
And of course, as well, that's not to let the BR Green go.
Oh no.
Because it does have a lot of fans. I mean, this is my favourite livery on the class.
Yes.
Really. And number 9, as it's known here as well, is still seen in this livery to this day. In fact, it's actually been in this livery since the early 1960s. They have never changed the colour scheme on this locomotive, even though it's been operated for pretty much every year since.
It's been a rail tour's success, really.
Yes.
Ever since it was purchased out of service by John Cameron, who I think then later on became basically the head of Scottish Rail.
Right, okay, so there is the link there, and it did spend a lot of time in Scotland as well. And the exact condition we've portrayed it in is that late 1980s version of delivery, so it's great for the modeller who does have a steam layout in the 1960s, but if you do have more modern locomotives on your layout, if you've got Scottish diesels from the 1980s or really up-to-date multiple units, you can still fit an A4 on your layout with the rail tour conditions that John mentioned previously.
Yeah, and if you're modelling BR Steam, this A4 plus 2 or 3 others was one of the last ones in service, because it was actually transferred to the Scottish region once the East Coast Main Line services were dieselised with the famous Deltics.
Yes.
This loco and a handful of others were transferred up north to do the Aberdeen Expresses.
And of course, the Deltics are just about to be re-released from Helgin in O-Gauge as well.
Yes.
So if you'd like either thoroughbred of the express locomotives on the eastern region, whether it's an A4 or a Deltic, or both,
Indeed,
you can get that right now by pre-ordering. And of course, they're not just the only 2. As we saw in the images there,
yes,
we are bringing further liveries through. There's also Commonwealth of Australia and Dwight D. Eisenhower being produced in BR Green. And as regular viewers will know, we've featured the previous examples too of the A4s on our live stream. We've shown Sir Nigel Gresley in the BR Blue.
Yes.
And we've also shown Mallard and Bitton in LNER Garter Blue as well.
If anybody was feeling really flush, they would probably be able to recreate the Great Gathering, wouldn't they?
That's certainly it. A lot of the locomotives featured at the Great Gathering are available to pre-order, so
yes,
check out that link in the description if you fancy modelling either the preservation scene or right back to the days of when the A4s were first introduced with the RNR locos, or any point in between.
Yes. Yeah, and as Dave said earlier, if you're wanting to run the Garter Blue ones with the LNER teak coaches,
yes,
there's a superb idea for a link up there.
That's exactly it. The coaches are being produced to go with the locomotives, so the liveries there of teak, crimson and cream, apologies, or maroon are available to pre-order as well. And these are still online to come in December.
Definitely looking forward to seeing those come in, Dave.
That's exactly it. So, again, as I'm sure you can imagine, we have had a few comments regarding the A4s. So the 700 shunter says the British Green suits the A4s really well. I think he's in full agreement there.
I completely agree. Yeah.
It is a livery that does get carried by a lot of locomotives in this era, but still with the streamlined front, it just makes them stand out that little bit to me.
I think the livery is very well executed. It really does enhance the streamlined lines of the locomotive. Even with the cutaway fairings at the side, I think it still gives it a very powerful and purposeful look.
Yes. And also, Eurostar Disney Pixar Car Lover 009 says, what is your favourite Class A4 name? Now, as the A4 aficionado here, I believe that should come to you first, John.
It's got to be Golden Fleece, simply because it was the Hornby 00 locomotive that I was given when I was years old.
Right, okay, so that really goes back. I presume that would have been a 00 locomotive in that case. So.
It was the Golden Fleece was the 2-rail version that Hornby 00 brought out. And yes, that was my pride and joy for many years.
And of course, that's another real great opportunity to get an A4 as well.
Yes.
With them always being available as a pretty perennial model in 00 scale and in N scale as well. If you are a fan of the Locomotives, such as myself and John, and you do want one in a larger scale to put on your new O-gauge layout, or if you're already an O-gauge modeler, it really is the time to get a bit of finesse, a bit of class on your O-gauge layout.
It really is a superb quality model, and we're looking forward to seeing them, aren't we?
We are indeed. And also, Southway 1943 has said 4468 Mallard is his favourite of the A4s.
Understandably.
And that is the locomotive preserved in the National Railway Museum.
That's right, the world record holder for steam.
It is indeed 126.
That's right,
I believe,
yes.
and that's never been beaten, has it?
No, it was set in 1938.
Yes. And of course, we have not one but 2 Mallards available to pre-order as well.
Yes, that's right,
So
Dave.
check out that link in the description if you'd like a Mallard or any of the other A4s. The 2 Mallards are either in the condition it was on the world record breaking day back in 1938, or in the condition it is in the National Railway Museum today.
Yes.
So take a look.
We have a really lovely selection of A4s for you. Choose your favourite.
And of course, if we're not making your favourites as well, we are bringing them in unnumbered variations too, which are pre-orderable for the same price of £750. So again, have a look at that link in the description. If one of the varieties we've chosen is not one of the 34 A4s there were, I believe it was.
And we've tried to be very careful when it comes to things like options for single chimney, double chimney, with or without valances, and the various styles of tenders, because the tenders themselves can also be a few pitfalls for the unwary.
That's exactly it. And of course, if you're not quite sure which A4 is for you, or you want some further information, do send us an email, send us a Facebook message, get in touch with our help desk team, and we'll be able to give you some guidance. So, I think we're getting a little bit smaller for the next one, aren't we now? I think we're going to
taking quite a quantum leap downwards, aren't we?
Down in size here.
Yes.
Now, what's in front of you there, John?
Well, what I see before me are 2 of Helgen's latest versions of the Linton and Barnstable 262 tanks.
And these are pretty much the final versions of these for now to come into stock, aren't they?
Yes. Now, if you look very carefully at them on the details that we have on screen, you should see that these are in fact the flush cab versions. There is no protruding, extending bunker behind the rear cab plate. And this is correct for the last locomotive that was built by the Southern Railway, but also it is very useful for representing the replica that Festiniog built just a few years ago.
That's exactly it, and that's one of the liveries we have on the table there, isn't it? The BR Black livery, which is a little unusual for these locomotives.
Well, I suppose it could be argued that because the Festiniog built the locomotive themselves, they were in a way entitled to put whatever livery they wanted to on it. And I think perhaps they were trying to make the point that had the Linton and Barnstable never closed, this is probably the livery that the locomotives would have worn.
Yes, that's exactly it. And it really does give a different character to this, as every livery we've seen on these so far is a representation of either the Linton and Barnstable green or the Southern green as well. To have one available not only in black but fully lined out there as well really adds a different character to this locomotive. And of course it gives a great opportunity for people if they want to build a fictional railway as well, which did survive into the 1950s. A real opportunity there for a little bit of imagination use too.
Well, I think that's true, particularly in 009, because I do have some close friends who model 009 and have done for years. And while some of them do choose to model a particular railway or a particular location, I think it's fair to say that there are many 009 layouts there, superb quality, which are in effect freelance. The locomotives are provided, as was so often the case in real life, from a wide range of suppliers and builders.
That's exactly it. So some real opportunities for 009 modelers here. And that's not just the only locomotive on the table there today, is it? We've also got number 188 as well, which has a little bit of a different history to the others.
Yes, I touched on that one briefly. That was the one that the Southern Railway had built when they were still planning on keeping the Linton and Barnstable running.
Yes.
And there's various folklore and myths, shall we say, around this particular locomotive.
Right, okay.
Something about it disappearing off into the jungle and never to be seen again.
Yes, because I believe when the railway was closed in 1935, a lot of pretty much every other locomotive was scrapped on the site.
Yes.
However, this one was actually sold.
Yeah, it was. I think it was sold and exported.
I believe it went to Brazil, actually.
Yes,
so
what actually happened to it after that, who knows?
I think a lot of people have spent time venturing into the jungle to try and find a missing Victorian steam locomotive and not come up trumps so far, unfortunately. So it's a little bit of a railway mystery there. But again, if we have any modelers watching who model Brazilian layouts in 009, there's a great opportunity for you to replicate where this locomotive maybe went.
True.
And we've had these locomotives on the stream before, we've featured previous releases, and these two don't disappoint in the level of detail we have as well there. As you can see on the screen at the moment, these match the other locomotives we've had so far in the amount of pipework that's on the front and on the top as well. There's separately picked out brass details there. The full cab interior, I mean, you can see it for yourselves, really. There's so much to look at.
If anybody's wondering, even perhaps at this level of detail, whether there may appear to be anything missing, don't worry, because inside the packaging, as Dave and I have checked earlier, you do have, if you really want to go for it, the brake rodding, extra piping, but more crucially, of course, the couplings front and rear. But apart from those few little additions, these locomotives really do come with everything, don't they, Dave?
They do indeed, and some viewers have noticed that they don't have the nameplates pre-fitted as well, but they do come in the detailing pack for you to fit separately.
Probably recommended a tiny amount of blue tack to hold it on.
Yes, that's a perfect way to get them on though, without tarnishing the finish on the side of the locomotive as well. And these have been immensely popular since the first release, and it's great to have the full Manning Wardle story now of these locomotives.
Yes.
The 4 built for the line, plus the replica locomotive we touched on before, and the Linton and Barnstable Railway itself is almost legendary in railway history.
And of course, the great thing now is it bit by bit it's being revived.
It is indeed.
Now, you've probably noticed as well that as well as the Helgen locomotives, we have, courtesy of Pico, a very superb range of Linton and Barnstable coaches.
We do indeed, and this is one of the main railway systems we can offer a complete package on.
Yes.
We can offer pretty much all of the locomotive fleet, pretty much all of the carriage fleet, most of the wagons, some of the buildings, the track, the scenery it ran through as well. So if you are interested in becoming a 009 modeler or already have a collection on the go, we can really offer the complete package here.
I think Ready to Run 009 is something that probably wasn't really considered a few years ago, mind you. The same could be said for Ready to Run O-Gauge, I suppose.
That's it, and as we've touched on the stream before, there's so many different angles that are able to model at the moment, whether you're modelling in 00, N-Gauge, 009, O-Gauge, or any other scale. There really is some fantastic models coming through. And of course, if you've not seen anything here today that takes your fancy, but there is a certain theme that you go for, do get in touch with us. Send us a Facebook message, get in touch with our customer experience team as well, or come into the shop where you usually find John actually as well. So we'll always be able to give you advice on what to go for, what models really suit your own individual preferences as well. So if you do have a certain theme, or you're just thinking about making a layout and you've not seen your perfect loco, just get in touch and we'll get you sorted.
That reminds me, Dave, actually talking about themes and choices, I know sometimes people are trying to decide whether they should do analogue or digital, but I believe I'm right in saying that with these locomotives you have the choice of either, because there's a 6-pin DCC socket inside.
There certainly is, and it's really easy to get a decoder in there as well. It's just a couple of screws underneath, lift the body away and put in your preferred decoder. And that really matches the easiness of getting them running on the track as well. Yes. And again, as we expect with Helgen, we've got a full die-cast chassis in there, which even in the O-Gauge locomotives they put in, but right down to the 009 locomotives they developed, they still managed to get that weight in there, meaning for an incredible haulage capacity too. They've got full NEM couplings on the back, so you can use them with any other 009 locomotive or rolling stock you have. Really high level of detail there too, so just a great all-round model.
Yes. Certainly, I think in the last few years, 009 modelling has become much more popular, wouldn't you say so?
It really has, and there's the wealth of products available now, so do check that link in the description. Not only for these two locomotives, but also for a range of 009 stock we do have. As we said before, we really can provide the complete package.
Yes.
So let's take a look. We have had one important question from Sir Tony Blair, which is, how much does it cost?
Well, the ones that are out now, the ones that we're looking at here, are £186.96p.
That's exactly right. So these are the new releases that come in at that price. And of course, the coaches start at around £30 each.
Yes.
The wagons come in at around £15 to £20 each. The track itself, if you buy the boxes, they come in at about £60. So you really can get a really authentic Linton and Barnstable layout going for not that much.
No, I think it's very good that two manufacturers, Helgen and Pico, have cooperated. And as Dave says, as a result of this cooperation, you can create practically an off-the-shelf Linton and Barnstable layout, should you wish to do so.
And eagle-eyed viewers will know as well that this isn't quite the end of the 009 tale, as we've mentioned previously on our live stream. There's a couple of forthcoming models too.
Oh yes.
There is from Helgen. They are completing the Linton and Barnstable story. The one-off 242 locomotive built by Baldwin in America, Lynn, is also being developed alongside the Manning Wardle 262s. So for those of you who have to have every locomotive from a railway, it will be possible for the Linton and Barnstable.
Yes.
And of course as well, Cato are bringing two Festiniog locomotives to the market.
And there again, there's going to be a bit of joint cooperation because Pico are going to be doing appropriate coaches.
They are indeed the bug box coaches, which we saw on, I believe, episode 7 of Platform 1. We saw the samples of those in the Victorian livery and the 1950 livery too. So, as he said, 009 modelling is really getting going, but also it's really got some more exciting things to come. And
Yes.
as ever, as soon as we hear more, we'll feature it right here on Platform 1. So we've had a couple more questions regarding these, and Ben Davis has said, I would have to go for lid in the BR Black with early emblem as preserved. And as said before, it gives some great opportunities to people who may not have quite a traditional 009 layout, but really want to incorporate this on their 00 setup.
Yes, that's true. As a small feeder section, or indeed perhaps as an interchange station or an interchange depot. I'm thinking of something like freight interchange, or possibly even a dual gauge station.
And there's some really great opportunities there, isn't there, for incorporating this into an already existing 00 layout itself. So it doesn't have to be a complete fresh start. It can be, if you've got a corner to fill on your layout, why not think of a 009
I think that's how it started to become popular in the UK, certainly, because some people might remember the Egerbahn and Jouef stuff that was around quite a few years ago, and I think that's how a lot of people started. As Dave said, they would add in a little corner, a little feeder line, a little quarry line, something like that, and for so many people that's how they got bitten by the 009 bug.
That's exactly it. And 700 Shunter has said, L&B 262s want me to somehow incorporate a narrow gauge section into my model railway layout.
Very
I
good.
think he's thinking what we're thinking here.
Yes, I think so.
I would love to run this with the SR Baldwin, the Small Englands and the Double Fairleys. He's really thinking what we're thinking here,
isn't he?
He's-
Yes. I'm thinking a model of Portmaddock Harbour Station, perhaps.
It sounds like a good idea. So if that does come together, 700 Shunter, do let us know on that one. And as said, you can incorporate the locomotives that are out now, locomotives that are coming out in the future. There really is some good models coming through in 009. So check out that link in the description, not only for these brand new Linton and Barnstable locomotives, but also those forthcoming releases as well.
Yes.
Now, those of you who have been regular viewers of the stream, I mean, we've been here 13 episodes now, so it has been a little while, will remember that in one of the earlier streams we did have an exclusive announcement of some Metcalfe buildings, and as I'm sure eagle-eyed viewers watch, we're doing the same again today. We have them here and built up ready to show. Now, these are garden and crofters cottages in 00 scale. As you can see here on the screen at the moment, the pre-built up examples are here to see. And these are formed of card kits, as is part of the Metcalfe range. And these really are something very nice. There's something a lot there, a lot of detail on them as well. And what I like about these is there's a lot of individuality that you can recreate there as well. Various different styles of building all in front of you there, John.
Yes, that's right. As you may notice as well, what we have also from Metcalfe is a series of additions or add-ons. Now, in one of their 00 kits recently, you have the option of adding in bay windows. Here they've taken it, I think, a step further, because on 2 or 3 of their kits there are also additional items that you could add on, like a porch, a bay window. And I also like the fact that in some of these as well, you can quite alter the era in which they would be around. If I can just give you an example of this one here. As built, it looks absolutely fine for quite literally any era, but that to me says millennium onwards modification, and so you could probably run that on have that installed on a very modern image layout.
And this is what's so fascinating about the Metcalfe kits, is the amount of individuality you get with the building options on them, especially with some of these optional features as well. You really can build them up in pretty much any way you want. I don't really think there's one kit in the range that there's only one way to build it, to be quite honest.
As you can see from the way we've got these laid out now, there are so many permutations and variations that you can add on to these kits. Metcalfe kits, I think, are already good and do have a well-deserved reputation, but I think they've put a very good set of add-ons onto these, which means that you really can ring the changes and have these models representing almost anything you want. Don't be put off, by the way, by the description of these as crofters' cottages and things of that nature, because I'm sure, despite the name there, you would find a use for them in practically any region or area of the UK.
They really are a versatile bit of equipment, aren't they? Really nice, well-made buildings. Now, these are yet to be launched by Metcalfe. We've actually got them here as a little bit of an exclusive for you today.
We're very pleased about that.
As we like to feature on Platform 1. So do bear in mind that these aren't available to order right this second if you're watching live, but do check that link in the description for a link to all our currently available Metcalfe kits, which do include the instructions on how to build them as well. But if you are watching this on catch up, if you're watching it a little bit later and not watching us live, if you click that link in the description, it will take you to the kits when they are available to order.
And if you're considering building a Metcalfe kit and haven't dipped your toe in the water yet, don't worry, they go together extremely well. They're a fascinating example of card engineering. They're recommended to be glued together, and one of the most popular glues that we have is the Deluxe Materials Rocket Card Glue.
Yes, there's quite a few different glues you can use, and they do fall together, to be quite honest with you. They're really easy to put together. So if you are starting off on a layout, or you've got a layout already on the go, and you do need to fill a little bit of a corner on it, and
use one of these.
Not quite sure. They're really good kits to make, actually quite therapeutic, to be quite honest, to put together, I think.
They're very well designed. You put them together in stages. Some of them, not these particular examples, but some of them have quite detailed beamwork on the roofs inside. But if you take it step by step and stage by stage, you'll end up with a very well detailed, well designed, well thought out card model that would grace anybody's layout, I think.
That's exactly it, and there's a huge amount of different buildings in the range there, whether it's modern, urban, classical, rural as well there. So do take a look if you're a 00 gauge or an N gauge modeler at that link in the description. And if you're watching live, you'll see what we have available now. If you're watching a little later on, you'll see what we've got available, plus the new items as well.
You saw it here first.
That's exactly it. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, these have taken a little bit of interest, and James Ackers says, those Metcalfe kits look really good, a lot of detail and a good price. Now, the prices on these aren't quite confirmed yet. We are expecting them to be within the £10 to £12 area, but for the buildings there and the different versatile options you've got on the extensions as well, as John covered previously, it's a really great price to have that almost limitless opportunities with them.
Yeah, and I think I would agree with you, Dave. The Metcalfe kits are quite competitively priced. I mean, for example, looking more closely at one of these here, I can see that they've really gone to town with putting in the barge board and end of roof details here.
Yes.
So there's a lot of opportunity here for detailing and super detailing. If you wanted to, you could add downpipes, guttering, water butts, things of that nature. You could really go to town, but the basic model, just as it is a really good quality product.
That's it. It's a really good place to start building up further skills, but also just on their own, they're absolutely fine as well. And the 700 shunter says, these kits to me would make a really nice small narrow gauge railway station. That's touching on what you said before as to the opportunities of looking beyond the description to see what they could really look as part of there. So
yes, I could envisage that.
A great possible opportunity. Upwell and Onward says these kits look great and give a chance for everyone to throw their own taste onto a station, regions, eras, the works. Exactly right, as we mentioned before there. I think they're not really time locked. You could use them any time from the Victorian era to the current day.
Yeah. Would it be breaking copyright to say that they're a martini design?
Potentially. So Eric Craig says, even if you don't model rail, building the card kits is fun. And that's a really good point as well. If you don't have a layout and you do want to build something, either to get something ready for a layout, or you just want to build something, these really are a great way to get into that. There's not a lot of skill required to start off at the start. Really easy to get the tools needed as well. We do sell all the tools you require, so check out that link in the description. It is a really good thing to get into. If you fancy building up some of your skills and starting off on a layout, building the buildings using the Metcalfe kits is a great way to get going.
I could quite see these as part of or even a diorama on their own, couldn't you, Dave?
Yes, absolutely. There's some really great opportunities there. And of course as well, thanks to the guys and girls at Metcalfe Models who've let us have the exclusive on these new buildings. If these particular buildings do tempt you and you're watching live, we will have them available to order later on. If you're not watching live, check out that link in the description and they'll be available to order.
Thank you, Metcalfe.
Now, again, this is one thing that's really taken the model railway world by storm at the moment.
Ah, yes.
And this is the second series of the Great Model Railway Challenge. And for me, at least, it's essential viewing. And for a lot of our viewers as well, there is some absolutely incredible points to see. Some really great layouts, some hugely inspirational modelling. And it has taken the model railway world by storm.
It has. I mean, quite often when people come into the shop, particularly if they're dipping their toe into the world of railway modelling, they will say to myself and my colleagues that it's having watched the Model Railway Challenge that has given them that little impetus, that little push to actually move from thinking about it to doing something about it.
But unfortunately, as I'm sure you can imagine, all good things have to come to an end sometime. And it is the final this weekend. Saturday on Channel 5 at 8 o'clock UK time is the final. It's the one where everyone's got ready to build their real masterpieces, to put everything they've learnt so far into making sure they get that first place. And we caught up with one of the finalists to see how they thought about it.
Yes.
Hello Platform 1 viewers and welcome back. I'm joined by Jenny and Les from Team Rail Riders on the Great Model Railway Challenge Season 2. Hi guys.
Hi.
So we're going to be taking a little bit of a look ahead, aren't we, to what people can expect from the final on Saturday.
I think it's going to be amazing. This is one not to miss. We've got such epic builds. I think all four teams have thought well outside the box. It's going to be bigger, better, badder, bolder, and it's really going to show the limits of what railway modelling can do.
Spoken just like the show itself.
Yes, I would agree with everything she's just said.
So we've already seen some amazing layouts from you guys already with the War of the Worlds, which you will be able to see more of on our YouTube channel previously, and of course your Halloween layout from the semi-finals as well.
Yeah.
So your experience with those builds was amazing already, so I think people will be really excited to see what's next.
Yeah, I think basically
so.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
We've got to top those layouts, and it's a tall order, but hopefully you find out if you watch just how well we do.
That's it.
Yes.
We've got to keep our lips sealed for now about what will be coming up. But do make sure to watch the show on Saturday evening over on Channel 5, or you can catch up on the My5 service as well. And of course, we will be posting it on our website after the show's aired as well. But hopefully we'll have some more content out with you guys as well to chat a bit after the show's out.
Yes, certainly.
Thanks, guys.
So a little bit of a preview insight there from the team at Rail Riders, which is quite an exciting one to see. And they've had some really good layouts already in the show. We've seen the War of the Worlds layout, which can be seen on our YouTube channel as well. Some exclusive footage of that. So really good modelling to look forward to there, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's very encouraging to have the hobby so widely available to view at such a prime time.
And as Jack mentioned, we will have a video on our channel just afterwards. We'll have a bit of a write-up there as well after the final on Saturday night, which is at 8 o'clock on Channel 5. And also great to see Jack for a couple of minutes there as well. We couldn't leave him out of today's stream, I think. He had to be here in spirit, or well, a clip anyway. So
that's true.
We made sure he still took part for all the Jack fans out there as well.
Both of them.
That's it. Just the two, or maybe more. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, we've had a few comments about this as well, and James Ackers has said you and the Hattons team should do a Great Model Railway Challenge team for the next series. It's a tempting idea.
It's a thought, isn't it? Because I mean, let's face it, there are quite a few modellers on the staff.
Well, that's it. There's a few of us, and I mean, even if we get started, me, you, Jack, you know, we've almost got a team together there now. So, one to ponder, you might see us there yet.
That's an interesting thought. Never say never.
Upwell and Onward says, I wonder if the Richards of New and Everard Junctions would sign up for a possible season 3. Well, there's the second team. We're working on this here now. We've got 2 there as well, the Hattons team and the YouTubers as well. We've got New Junction and Everard Junction there too. SLD51 says, where can you watch the Great Model Railway Challenge? Now, if you're in the UK, you can watch it live on Saturday night on Channel 5 at 8 o'clock for the final. It isn't available outside the UK currently, unfortunately, but if you do want to catch up on those episodes, check out the link in the description and you can see a catch up on all the episodes so far, giving a review and some of the highlights, and also links to the catch up there as well. So if you'd like to check out what's happened so far, and just make sure you're really swatted up before the final there as well, do make sure to check that link in the description. Also available, if you're a real die-hard fan, is the Great Model Railway Challenge bookazine as well, which can be ordered right now, again by clicking that link in the description.
Yes.
That includes a lot of the details from the original series, some really great modelling inspiration, some features as well by model railway celebrities. Really good volume to have sat by your side when you're watching the final, so do take a closer look.
Should be good,
and of course, finally, to finish, we've got Ben Davis who says, can't wait to watch it. And I think I'm in that camp. I can't wait to watch it.
I would agree with you, yes.
So really looking forward to seeing some of the modelling in the final there.
Recommended Saturday night viewing.
It really is. So we're coming up to about the 5-minute mark now, actually. So another session has flown by there, I think, with some great models to show off.
Yes.
So if you have any questions at all regarding anything you've seen here today, or anything that's come up in conversation, please do put them in the chat now and we'll work our very best to answer them. And we've already had a few, actually. We've had some already. So, Dave Henshaw has asked us, any update on the Oxford Rail N7 with DCC sound to be our early crest version, which he has on pre-order? Now, we've just had stocks of the normal digital ready version in, and they have sold out, and we are getting some more in about 2 weeks' time, if one of those is what you want. The digital sound version, the latest we've heard from Oxford Diecast, is they're due to come in just around Christmas time.
Good timing.
On that one, so really looking forward to those, and that also includes the other liveries available there as well. So the Great Eastern Railway Grey, and also the LNER Black as well. So if you've got a digital sound locomotive on order, that's how long it is to wait.
That'll be good news.
James Ackers has asked, regarding your new A4s, have you got the famous Kingfisher locomotive being produced? Now, this is something what we mentioned before, really, regarding the customisable models.
That's right.
So you can pre-order a locomotive without names and number plates. Kingfisher isn't one of the ones we'll be producing pre-fitted, but if you would like that locomotive, you can order one plain, shall we say?
Yes.
And you can add your own numbers and nameplates for any of the 34 locomotives you desire, including Kingfisher. So take a look at that link in the description, and that will show not only the 9A4s we're producing with numbers, but also the variations without numbers as well. And again, if you're not quite sure which one you'll need to get started, drop us a message either via Facebook, on the comments here, or via our customer experience team, and we'll make sure we get the right one for you.
Yep. Should be an A4 for everybody.
That's it. So the 700 shunter has said, would it be even possible to model the Ravenglass and Eskdale in scale with the 00 models? Now, that's going to be something really small, as that's a 15-inch gauge railway.
Now let's have a think. Could anybody do something with Z gauge?
It's potentially possible. It would really get quite small in that scale, though. But as we mentioned before, the emergence of 009 with smaller models on the narrow gauge railways, who's not to say in a few years that miniature gauge railways will be available? We may get to the stage in a few years where we are modelling models of models, maybe.
Quite
It gets really small. So it's, who knows where the model railway industry is going to go. But at the same time, if that is something that comes through, you'll hear about it here first on Platform 1. So
model Ravenglass and Eskdale locomotives. Oh, now there's a thought.
It's something to consider, and it may be one you hear here first. Who knows? So we have also had Eurostar Disney Pixar lover ask, do you have any news on the coaches for the Class 373? Now that is the Eurostar unit that is being re-released by Hornby.
Good.
It's being re-released by Hornby as a train set. It's being re-released by Hornby as a train pack with the 2 end cars and the 2 motor cars for the middle, and also the additional coaches as well.
Ah, good, good.
Now they are all coming in January. The whole lot, the train set, the train pack, and the additional coaches as well. They are all available to pre-order on our website right now, and they are available in the modern livery as opposed to the original livery as well.
Ah, good.
If the original livery is what you want, do check out our pre-owned section, as they do come in there from time to time as well. So whether it's original or modern Eurostar in 00 gauge, have a check of our website and we will have something for you.
And we're expecting them all to come through at roughly the same time.
We are indeed.
Oh, that's good news.
And as soon as we get a more certain date on that, we'll update our system as well.
Good.
So keep an eye on the page. So any news on the 66, and could you do an O gauge one? Now the latest news on the 66 is that it will be due with us in December.
Good.
So the models are currently being developed still. We've featured them here a couple of times on the live stream, and of course we've got the features on our website as well. Do keep an eye on our YouTube channel, as we are about to put up a bit of a special video on our 66 as well. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell on the page, and as soon as we put that video up, you'll be able to see it first.
And as regards an O gauge Class 66, well, it's perfectly possible, because after all, we've got all the CADs and all the designs.
That's certainly it. Never say never. So Upwell and Onward says, is there any news about any new steam era Pullman or named train packs? Now we do have a few of those already available on our system, various models of locomotives and exquisite coaches to go with them, really harking back to that 1930s and 1940s era. So no news on any new ones at the moment, but again, as soon as we do, we'll make sure it gets featured here on Platform 1. But there's already quite a few to look at there, so do take a look on our website, and if there's not one that takes your fancy, let us know and we'll see what we can get for you.
And as Dave said a few moments ago, don't forget to check out the pre-owned section as well.
Right, I think we're getting up to about full time now, really. So apologies if we haven't answered your question. If you do want to send it in to us separately, we'll be more than welcome to look at that for you as well. And as ever, it's been another really busy week here on Platform 1. We've brought you a lot of the latest samples and the exclusive preview of the buildings here as well. And I'll be honest, John, it's been great to have you here. It's
been good.
It's a different face, and of course as well, if you want to see John in real life, shall we say, he does work in our store on Thursdays to Saturdays.
That's correct,
as well. So an absolute fountain of knowledge, as I'm sure you've learnt today as well of me there. So if you want to come and say hello and really do get some great advice on him for some of the ideas we've featured here today, but also some modelling opportunities as well, pop in and say hello. So I think that about wraps it up, really. We've had another really busy week.
Yes.
And of course, as well, the important bit is we are back at our normal time next week as well. With the Thursday today, that's a one-off for now. We are going back to Friday next week at 1 PM, so you can change your diaries back to how you always have them if you are regular viewers of Platform 1. And of course, as well, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified about it as soon as. And everything you see here that we've featured in Platform 1 today has a link in the description if you'd like to find out more. And of course, if you have any further questions, do get in touch either via Facebook, on the comments below, or get in touch with our customer experience team. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you all very much. Bye for now.